Greetings ladies and gents, and welcome to this batch video of one-shots taken from the HFY subreddit. The links to the originals will be down below, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. And if you do so, please consider subscribing, because for those that don't, you will be visited later on by a biomass-eating cloud of sentient nanites. A Giant Lost in Time by Dastardly Triceps. My children are all dead. They must be. It has been several winters since my last left my broken body, wounded but alive. My eyes have gone dim, but my mind is still sharp. My cannon barrel is warped, but a shell remains loaded for bear, in case the enemy returns. My treads are gone, and so I remain a pillbox, a frontier guard against the enemies of mankind. My body has been lanced, but I was once a death incarnate. I have been called many other Christ names by friends of my children, but to my kin I am Papa Bear. Avenger Tank Series 8. My steel was mined on Earth, my body constructed on Mars, and my first kill on the vast foreign plains of Sector 5. 3 women and 2 men, my children, from the day that they touched my hull. Lieutenant First Class Alicia Smith, my quiet bulwark and beacon of inspiration. Private First Class Moray Glover, my youngest Scion, who spent many hours tinkering with my engine. Sergeant Kelly, Corporal Gunther Farr, and Private Emily Sanders. How small they were, their eyes bright with the cast upon my body so strong. How terrified they cowered within my breast, and I sheltered them from the shameful shots of the foe. How powerful they felt as a blast from my cannons avenged the losses of their family and friends 100-fold over. I knew not what each day awaited us, only that whatever happened, I would be there, shield and sword, their symbol of hope and humanity's embodiment of fury. And on the day I fell, when anger could no longer drive my body forward, I submitted myself to the silent gods in the stars above. Here I will stand, I beseech their ilk. Here I will remain forevermore until humanity's last spark is extinguished, if but you will permit these 5 to escape with their lives. Should machines pray and believe in chance? Should we have resigned to our fates, preordained by binary? I know not the answers to quench the fires of my kind, but I've seen miracles happen. 6 times my hull was blown apart by the enemy tanks. Fearsome their weapons are, and devilish are their masters. And in those 6 lances of cold hatred, my children survived the ordeal. First to go were my treads, torn apart by mines planted in advance. Even so, I crawled forward. A broken leg was not a wound to excuse me from duty for my children. And when my first shot struck, my chest did bend and the human courage did wane. The tears of my children awash in my heart. And no greater sin has a parent commit than to let their child's heart be broken by ardours of fate. I resist as my children open up the hatches. I pleaded them to flee, to never look back, lest they turn to the pillars of ash and salt. When Emily tripped, I took the final shot and held the line. For I am Papa Bear, and it has been 30 ashen winters since I last saw my children. Though I have been abandoned, I know that they have lived. A machine ought to do but hope, and pray their code grants them the succor to doubt that beset my weak heart. Rain clouds have gathered, showering the lands fertile once more. If another human finds this grove, what bounty awaits the diligent farmer, and what fabled guardian that they have watched over them? End of story number 1. Story number 2. The Price of a Mile. Written by Warrior 4356. As a species advanced further from the primitive planet-bound roots, attitudes towards warfare will in generally shift towards being more focused on warships and less on static defenses as a collective population forgets the entrenched warfare of old. When the Harathi cruiser arrived in the Sol system and issued their demands for surrender, the natives had little issue receiving it. But even if they could have communicated back, what exactly was there to say against an empire that claimed to span exactly 874 stars? To the Harathi, the terms were reasonable and was a mission ultimatum. The exact terms of the proclamation does not really matter for those the purpose of the study of the pre-FTL psychology. but can be surmised as be assimilated or be destroyed. The natives of Sol did not have access to FTL technology, with only chemical-based spaceflight. Still, rather than spend the year prepping for the cultural upheaval the surrender would bring upon them, they instead decided to teach Arathi the meaning of the axiom that the Empire had long forgotten while being fresh in the natives' collective memory. Uncountable audible fortifications were built, based stretching from Sol 1 to the outer planetoids where set in orbit, along with the larger asteroids towed into position to give the natives ground to build on. Perhaps the most extravagant use of the resources was the munitions, and with the height of their weapons technology being fusion-tipped missiles, they decided to break the standard convention of mobile ships with many launches in favor of a different tactic. They pre-fired millions of fusion-tipped missiles, filling countless orbits of their stars with angry little satellites, each nothing more than solar panels, communications, and as many missiles as it could support. Eventually, the year had passed and the Arathi returned with little more than a single ship, bringing a low-level head of state to accept the native surrender. Instead of the grand welcome and celebration they expected, they were given a different sort of grand welcome, as they were once more reminded of the axiom that had long been forgotten. Point defense systems of the Arathi were some of the best in the galaxy, but eventually they could not cope with the load. Beyond that were near impenetrable energy shields, but even those began to protest as they were pushed to their limits. When the hull itself started to warm as the armor cracked, they learned the lesson long forgotten in moments from oblivion. The price of a mile. End of story number 2. Story number 3. Language lesson, written by Algae Father Anthracite. "You have lost, concede, and we shall be merciful," said the Karakian councillor. "If I may ask, councillor, what makes you think that we have lost?" General Graham asked. "Your home world is gone. It fell to our fleet in a rotation ago. The surface has been turned to glass." "Ah, I see. Well, councillor, I feel I have to tell you 3 things. First, I would like to explain to you that the word paranoia, I'm not sure if it translates properly or if you can understand it properly. The word means the belief that someone or something is out to get you. It's an old word of our people, born of 1,000 years of betrayal and treachery. Why would I care for your words? Soon your kind will speak my language as our slaves." The Karakian councillor clicked its mandibles in mirth as it thought. Humans had caused these people nothing but problems since they had entered the galactic political scheme almost a decade ago. Second, the general continued, ignoring the interruption, the world you destroyed was not our homeworld. It is merely the world where we were discovered and brought here, before the galactic legal quorum. We are a paranoid species, as I said, and decided not to correct your misinterpretation. Lies! The Karakian fleet has destroyed your home, and we have conquered you. Your entire species is forfeit to us." The councillor was gesticulating wildly, with his forelimbs with mirth being replaced quickly with distress. "Finally, councillor, my people followed your fleet back to your homeworld. The second Terran combat fleet should be arriving out of warp shortly." The general signaled a junior officer who applied the FTL video signal to the main viewing screen in the chamber, where all the representative species could see the video. A single world hung in the starfield, with some orbital shipyards and a fleet of nearly 100 ships dotted around it. As they watched, the ships dropped into normal space, followed by another, and then 2 more, then 5, then 20, and then 100. More kept coming. Now, councillor, either you concede unconditionally, or we will wipe you out. We do not keep slaves. A slave is just an enemy you let into your home. You have 30 seconds. No one moved. No one spoke. The Karakian councillor stood frozen. The horror of the situation had caused him to lock up. 20 seconds, councillor. Do decide whether or not we should retaliate for you killing over 500 million Terrans. Do you surrender? The Karakian swiveled its head to monitor the general, who stood passively. After another few seconds, he lifted a compad and triggered a comm channel. "This is General Graham. All ships target the Karakian homeworld, and prepare to fire on my order." Aye, aye, General. All ships targeting the Karakian homeworld. Waiting for your command, sir. 10 seconds, Counselor. 5, 4, 3, 2... Mercy! Mercy! We surrender to stay your weapons. Unconditionally? Yes, yes, unconditionally. Does the quorum recognize the surrender? Asked the General. All the blue lights signaled that the surrender was acknowledged by the now incredulous members of the quorum. The human strategy was brutally efficient. Several hostile species decided to step back and re-evaluate their position towards the humans. Surrender accepted. Battle fleet, stand down, begin blockades. The enemy has surrendered. The General turned back to the Counselor and said, We will take your weapons and your military will be disbanded. We will guard you and fight for you when you are in the right of dispute. You will learn to cohabit with humans and we will integrate our cultures, where possible. You may now spend your time focusing on industry and the arts, as this may be the best thing that you have ever happened to you as a species. Good day, gentle beings. The word paranoia now exists in every known language in the galaxy. End of story number 3. End of this batch video. If you wish to support the author or the channel, all the relevant links are down below. But the easiest way would be to share this video far and wide to as many unsuspecting people as possible. And until the next video, I hope that you all have a good time, and I'll see you then. Cheers.